Hello everybody and welcome back to my channel. My name is Danielle, just in case you didn't know, now you do. And today we're going to talk about the difference in my design styles between now and when I was in fashion school, and sort of the process in which I go through in order to design something now versus then. So obviously when I was in school, I was learning the techniques from pros in the industry, people who still work in the industry, and they were teaching us sort of like the steps if you're going to be producing something at a mass scale. And so a lot of these things really are only necessary if you are mass producing something, and I'm not doing that. So there are quite a few differences, but let's just run through it. Okay, so in school it always started with research, right? Really like finding the style, getting some inspiration, maybe looking back at historical fashion references, putting in research to make sure you're not culturally appropriating anything. Yeah, lots of research went into it, lots of books. I had at one point so many art books, so many like Art Nouveau, Art Deco books, references to other artists, things like that. Tons of art books. But I did spend a lot of time looking through books and watching old news broadcasts. And I remember researching for my final collection. My collection was all about like 60s pop music, 60s rock and roll. I watched an entire series on the 60s. There's, I think it's by CNN, I think is who produced it. So there's a lot of research, and then you gotta go for your inspo. So like, what do you, like, you're collecting images, and you're collecting fabric samples, and you're collecting colors and texture and different things from all over the place, and bring them together to make a mood board, which was essential. Every time we designed anything, there was a mood board involved. From a mood board, we would go on to select colors, because on your mood board you'd have different colors from your inspiration, and you would have to whittle it down because you can't make a collection with like 90 different colors, you know? You need things to be cohesive, and the whole time you're thinking, how do I make this cohesive? How do I make this cohesive? How do I make it all come together? Then we'd have our colors and our mood board. Having your colors before you start sketching anything is really important because you're going to be coloring things. So we start sketching, and honestly there was such an emphasis on sketching. You were assigned to do like 20 sketches a day. Then you pick out your few sketches that you want to move forward as part of your collection, and you start working on the detail. Often you would like take photocopies of your sketches, you would start coloring them and lining them, just the way you would like art, and you would put in shading and detail. And you would really start thinking about like what kind of fabrics you want to use, and then you would make trips to the fabric stores and be looking at like touching everything and sampling everything. And you may have, when you were doing your mood board, have selected a few fabric options already, but now it's time to like actually go and find the fabric you want to use. The next step is to make a pattern. And you can do this a couple of ways. You can start by draping it on a dress form. I honestly prefer to flat pattern it first, then try it on a dress form and sort of like see the fit. So we would make the flat pattern, cut it out of muslin, make a mock-up, and then try it on a dress form, and we would see how like we like where the lines are. Is it fitting right? Is it too long? Is it too short? Are the sleeves too high? Like, or like, are the sleeves too puffy? Are they, you know, what kind of closure do you want? Then you're adjusting the pattern, the fit, and get it exactly just right, you know, dialed in. Then you go and make the final pattern with all of like the notches and sort of like the lines to mark gathering and all of these things, and put all your numbers on it. So like you're gonna cut 1, cut 2, cut 1 on fold, all these directions, put your grain lines on, make sure your seam allowances are right, make sure everything is just absolutely perfect, because at this point in time, if you're going into production, you'd be handing that over to a grader who then is going to grade the pattern up and down in size so that you can make a whole size range. And you need it to be perfect when you hand it over, because as they scale it up, your mess is going to get scaled up or scaled down and really mess with the pattern if you're not handing over a final pattern, a final like perfect pattern. So once you've got the final pattern, you then make a technical drawing, because things will have changed between your sketch and now, and this requires a computer program. You can do it by hand if you want, but it's like lines, like perfect lines, no like person in the sketch. It's just like the flat drawing. Sometimes they're referred to as flats as well, and you're putting in things like, is there a zipper? Is there buttons? How is it closed? You're doing like a front and a back view. If there's something detailed on the sleeve, then you need to do a side view. You're showing like the length of something, so in proportion to the knee, where is, you know, how long is the skirt? Or how big is the pocket? All of these things, and you're putting in as much detail as you can. Like if there's top stitching, you need to put little dash lines where there's top stitching so that they know. This is why it's really good to do it as on a computer. I learned to do both. I probably couldn't do a computer one now if I even wanted to, because I'm not very good at Illustrator. You need to do all this so that the person who's getting the pattern and the person, like the people who are making your samples and all those things, know where things go. So you don't just hand them buttons, zippers, and go like, have fun, you know. You gotta give them all the information. So once you've made the technical drawing, you're gonna cut your fabric out. You could probably make the final pattern, then cut your fabric, do the technical drawing kind of like out of order, but like if you're gonna produce something, then you're not cutting your fabric till you can give your cutters and sewers all the information, right? So cutting your fabric, you need to also keep in mind how much yardage you're doing. So you're gonna cut it like you're cutting for production, so fitting everything in as tightly as possible while following all the grain lines, being as economical with your fabric as possible, because you need to know, if you're producing it, how much yardage it's going to take, and that's very important, because that determines the cost of your clothes and what you're making. And then you're going to sew it. You're going to sew it up, and while you're doing that, you're keeping step-by-step directions on how it's being sewn and what order you're doing things. So you basically are making an order of operations on exactly what step you take first, down to like, first you sew up a side seam, then you put in the sleeve. Some people I've seen now where they sew in the sleeve first, then they do the side seams, because it's way easier than setting in a sleeve the other way. It's such a pain in the butt. But it's very labor intensive, and you need to have all of these directions so you can hand them over to sewers so they can learn how you want it made. Like, do you want the zipper, does the zipper have to be put in first before you put on the waistband, or do you want the zipper put in afterwards and then finish the waistband? It's totally up to you, and you have to put all this in. And then when you're all done, you steam it, make it look pretty, and take photos of it and stuff, and that's all the fun stuff. But it's a lot. That's a lot, right? And this all hinges on, are you handing this off to someone else? Thank you to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Skillshare is an online learning community with thousands of inspiring classes for creators. Explore new skills, deepen existing passions, and get lost in creativity. Skillshare has many different types of classes that you may enjoy, like illustration, graphic design, photography, creative writing, animation, marketing, film and video, productivity, freelance and entrepreneurship, and crafts. I'm looking forward to taking an extra crochet class this month. The class I'm recommending this month on Skillshare is Portrait Photography, Shoot and Edit Instagram-Worthy Shots by Jessica Kobesi, where you can learn how to level up your photography skills using the equipment you already have and just outdoor photo shoots. Skillshare is curated specifically for learning, meaning there are no ads and they're always launching new premium classes so you can stay focused and follow wherever your creativity takes you. Skillshare is also quite affordable at less than $10 a month with an annual subscription. The first 1,000 of my subscribers to click the link in the description will get a free trial of premium membership so you can explore your creativity. Thanks again to Skillshare for sponsoring this video. Now back to the rest of the video. Whereas now, it's pretty much just me. And my biggest step is thinking about making something for 6 months. Going, oh, I'd really like to make that. Like, hey, I really would like to make that. Now, granted, I'm talking about making a bag or an earring or something now, but if I were making clothes, it would be probably similar. I would do a lot more inspiration searching and hunting and things like that, and looking more at trends than anything, but I'm not doing that for my business in terms of making bags. I am just making the bags, making the earrings, not really looking anything beyond that, except for like if I'm seeing a lot of stuff on social media, maybe I can make something inspired by that. So lots of thinking, and then I'm like, okay, you know, my next big project is to design a crossbody bag, for real. And I've been thinking about this for months, maybe over a year. The next step for me, after I'm like, yes, I'm making a crossbody bag, I need to get some inspiration. So I'm gonna go out and look at other crossbody bags. I'm gonna go out and look like, okay, how long are the straps? That's not long enough. How big is it? That's not big enough. Oh, I want it a little smaller than that. All of these things are like, oh, I really like that style of hardware. Okay. Do I want a zipper? Do I want it to have a tassel? All of these things. Oh, it should have a back pocket. Should it, you know, all these like details, right? And so I'm getting that inspiration. I save a lot of stuff on Pinterest, and that's usually like where my inspiration comes from, because Pinterest is a really good option for that. And I just save it all on a secret board so nobody else sees it. And then I go about producing it. I'm never copying from somebody. I'm just finding out my likes and dislikes and knowing like, okay, I really would like it to have, you know, this shape with like a back pocket, maybe an inside pocket. I know I need the strap to be longer than the typical. I definitely want it to be removable, or like so it twists so that, you know, it doesn't ever get tangled. All of these details. And so that's all in my head mostly. I might sketch it, probably won't, but it's all in my head, and then I make a pattern. I kind of skip over like most of the beginning part. I don't color it because I'm not choosing to make something specifically like a specific color, because I'm working with recycled leather. I use what I have, and so if I have a bright purple, then I'm gonna use a bright purple. If I have only black leather, then I'm gonna use black. So yeah, I make the pattern, I test the pattern. I usually test it, like sometimes I'll test it out of just paper if it's a very simple design, where I just basically take the pattern, fold it up, like make 2 of them, fold it up, and tape it all together. And like if I like the size and I like how it is shaped, then I'll stop there. For other styles that are a bit more complicated, I'll make it out of a fabric, and we'll see if I like the general shape and like where the pocket is, how tall the pocket is, like where the hardware sits, those sorts of things. I won't necessarily like finish it, so it's not going to get a zipper. It's not going to get like final hardware. It probably won't even have any hardware. It'll just have like where the loops sit for the hardware, and like very basic mock-up, so I can get like the general size of something and the shape. Is it too thick, you know, those sorts of things. And once I finalize that, I sort out the pattern and I adjust it, and I then make the final thing. I just go right to the final. I do not usually have to make like an order of operations for anything, and that's because it's just me working here, just me. But if when there is the potential that like I'll be hiring somebody, I will have to go through and make an order of operations of like, this is how we sew this together. The zipper has to go in first, then this has to go in, and you have to like sew these pieces together first, and then so that you can put all this together and all of these things, right? And because otherwise they'll just have to sit and study what I've already done, and I may not have anything on hand to show them, right? So having an order of operations for all of the major things that I make is important because it will help train somebody else in the future. Thank you guys so much for watching this video, hanging out with me today. If you know anyone who would enjoy seeing this video, please share it with them. Don't forget to subscribe, and if you have any questions, leave it in the comments below. I'm happy to answer them if I can. And if you are looking for any of my social media or anything, it's all linked in the description, as well as my P.O. box. Thanks so much. Thank you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me, and have yourself a great day. Bye.